So you're looking to get off grid in your Toyota truck. Have you ever thought about how you're going to power all of your accessories and devices? Well, with Lensun Solar and TrailGrid Pro, we've got the perfect solution for you with these flexible solar panel kits specifically designed for your Toyota truck. TrailGrid Pro and Lensun Solar have partnered up to bring you all sorts of great offerings. We've had one of these kits installed on our shop 4Runner for a number of months now, and this thing is awesome. If you're looking to run a secondary battery, run a refrigerator, power your truck for accessories, added accessories, if you're just looking something to maintain the charge on your start battery and you don't want to have to carry an extra generator, these solar panels, I'm telling you, are the way to go. Installation can be completed simply and easily with everything that's provided, and these things are going to perform. It may look like a thin solar panel. It's not one of those big beefy box panels that you see on top of people's rigs. I have one of these kits installed on our 4th gen 4Runner. This thing performs flawlessly. I've got a refrigerator freezer in the back that runs continuously, powered directly by the sun. It doesn't matter if my truck's running, it's turned off. I never have to worry about my accessories going dead or my truck dying. These Lensun solar kits come in a couple of options. You can get just the solar panel, you can get the solar panel and the charge controller, or you can get what they call the complete kit, which is the solar panel, the charge controller, and a vinyl overlay. The benefit of the vinyl overlay is to protect your paint from the 3M adhesive that we're going to use to mount this panel. So if the need ever arises that you need to remove or replace the panel, you're not going to risk damaging your vehicle. In today's video, we're going to go through the application of the complete kit. So we're going to start with laying down the vinyl, then we're going to attach the solar panel, we're going to mount our charge controller, and show you a couple of options of how you may choose to hook it up on your Toyota. In this video, we're going to show you how to install it on a 5th gen 4Runner, but do keep in mind that Lensun Solar has kits available for all the Toyota trucks. So whether you have a 4Runner, a Tacoma, a Tundra, a Sequoia, a Land Cruiser, they have a solution. Before we start prepping our vehicle for installation, let's go over some of the items that you may want to have handy with you to make this a successful installation. First, we're going to want to adequately clean our hood. So whether that's washing your truck, also recommend clay barring, using a panel prep. We want to make sure that the painted surface is as clean and debris free as possible before we lay our product down. That way it promotes good adhesion of both our vinyl and or our solar panel. So we have some panel prep. We also have a small squirt bottle with just water in it. We're going to do a wet application on the vinyl overlay. Just makes it a little bit easier to kind of work it into place before we squeegee it out. The kit does come with a squeegee with a felt edge if you order the vinyl overlay, so that is a very nice addition to the kit. We're also going to want to have a socket or a wrench with a 10 and 12 millimeter socket. That will come in handy when we actually go to hook up power and ground from our charge controller to either your primary or secondary battery. We will want a tape measure and some painter's tape so that we can measure and mark off the center point of our hood so that we make sure that our panel and our vinyl are nicely square in the hood and everything looks right. We will want a pair of scissors to cut the provided 3M adhesive. The kit also comes with a couple of these wire keepers and some zip ties for wire management of the solar panel cord, and then also you could use them on the charge controller as well. The kit does come with a handy dandy install guide, but now you have a handy dandy install guide video to help you with this installation, so that will come in the box as well if needed. Our biggest recommendation on things to have handy while you're doing this installation is another set of hands. Laying the vinyl down, getting everything lined up, laying the solar panel down. Sometimes it is easier to have one person help you and assist you in holding things in place so that you can get it nicely laid down. And again, we're looking for good adhesion and that everything sticks the way that it should for long and continued service. Now that we've gone over everything that you can get with this kit and everything you need to get this on your truck, let's go ahead and we're going to start prepping our 4Runner for today's installation. I've asked Sean to join me for this portion of the install so that he can be my extra set of hands while we get everything prepped and then measured out. This morning we've already gone ahead and given the truck a wash, so at this point we're going to go ahead and just grab our panel prep. Like I said, if you have some sort of alcohol-based panel prep, or if you've just freshly washed your vehicle, whatever you kind of need to do to get it ready, we just right before we measure everything out, we'll give it one more wipe down just so that all of the oils, all of the dirt, all the grime, everything's gone from our surface before we go and try to stick our vinyl down. So let me grab the panel prep and a fresh microfiber. We'll give it a quick wipe just to make sure that we're kind of doing it throughout the process, and then Sean, we'll get the vinyl laid out and we'll start measuring and make sure we have it exactly where we want it before we go to stick it down. So the part of the hood that we're going to clean is the center portion here. That's where our panel is eventually going to sit. Depending on the height of your vehicle, you may need to jump up here. We want to get all the way to the back. So we're going to go that way. We're going to flip our towel. All right, there we go. We're going to leave our panel prep and our towel handy, as we will, again, like I said, need this throughout the process. If you ordered the complete kit from Lensun Solar off the Trailgrid Pro website, you're going to receive this piece of vinyl. This does come rolled up in some protective. We've gone ahead and unrolled it. We generally recommend that you unroll this and lay it out flat for some period of time before your install. Obviously, this gets a memory from being rolled up in the packaging. So kind of the flatter that we have this piece, the easier it is to install. So Sean, I'm going to hand you that half, and then you can see this kind of has a keystone shape here. So this will follow the contours of the hood and the hood line. So the smaller end here is going to go towards the grill. The wider end here is going to go towards the windshield. So what we can do is we can lay that up on the truck. We'll start kind of figuring out where we want to go with this. If you need to grab your scissors and you want to trim back some of this excess paper, that may be an option that works well for you. So Sean and I are going to pick a couple of spots here to measure off. We do have a measuring tape out. We just want to make sure that our decal is centered left to right. So we can use some reference points. Usually we tend to use the edge of the vinyl and the edge of the hood here, since those are two hard points. Measuring along the body line here in the hood is somewhat questionable. So Sean, I want to grab a tape measure. Let's get a couple of measurements and we'll see where to go from there.
13.5.
All right, so Sean was at 13.5. I am at 14. So let's come my way a little bit. All right, so you're going inside edge of the hood or the fender?
Inside edge.
Inside edge, okay. So I'm about 13 7/8.
Yep, 13 7/8.
All right, perfect. So I'll hold the tape measure. You want to grab, I'll hold the vinyl. So we're going to grab a little bit of painter's tape here and just kind of tack this down so that at least we know that the top of our vinyl is lined up. And then we can start referencing some other spots so that we can make sure that we have it the same up and down. All right, so we have that tacked down. Now let's see. Maybe we just take this and we'll fold the paper back. So about 3 3/4. It's kind of hard to get a straight line here. About 3 3/4 there. About 3 3/4 there. Sometimes it helps to just step back from the vehicle and take a look. Actually looks pretty good. All right, now we have double, triple, quadruple, 10 times checked our measurements. We took a step back, we looked at it, we checked our measurements again. This is definitely the time that you want to make sure that you have this done correctly. We're going to do a wet application, so you get a little bit of wiggle room, but as a general whole, you kind of get one good chance to get this applied before we have to do it again. So take your time, be patient. We also recommend that you do not do this outside when it's less than 60 degrees. If it is around 60 degrees, make sure that you are in full sunlight. Vinyl does not like to stick to anything when it is cold outside. If it is less than 60, it may stick, but I would expect that it will try to come off shortly thereafter. So we are in a nice climate controlled film studio today, so we should have no problems, but just a general recommendation. So options. You can peel the paper off and you can start with one end and stick it and squeegee it along. What Sean and I typically like to do is take our blue painter's tape. We're going to run a line either across or down, and we're going to divide our vinyl in half. And we're just going to tape all the way across the hood. Just kind of gently stick it there. We're going to lift up. We will peel back our vinyl off of its backing paper. We'll get our spray bottle out. We'll spray the hood and the backside of the vinyl with a little bit of water. We will then start from our blue line and squeegee down, trying to squeegee the water out and make sure that we lay our vinyl nice and flat. Once half of it is kind of stuck and referenced, we then can fold back our other half, remove the rest of the backing paper, and then we will work our way back up using short strokes. Again, the vinyl kit does include the squeegee with the felt end. If you don't have one of those available, you can also use a tool with your microfiber towel on it. We just don't want to use any like hard surfaces that may scratch the vinyl, even though most of this will be covered with our solar panel in the end. But again, general recommendations for laying down vinyl. So Sean, we'll grab our microfiber, we'll grab our squeegee, and we'll grab our water bottle and our scissors or a knife to be able to cut our backing paper. All right, so we have a little squirt bottle here. It's just something we had laying around the shop. It's got water in it. If you have a bigger one, that's fine too. So Sean, what we're gonna do is we'll get this vinyl just gently peel it back. We don't want to tear our vinyl. We're going to go all the way to our tape. For this step, I'm going to grab a little razor knife and we're going to cut the paper, keeping it away from our painted surface. And we also don't want to cut through our vinyl. So now we have our paper out of the way. If you have your microfiber, let's go ahead and give it another wipe just to make sure any little paper particles or dust, fingerprints that may have happened are out of the way. Then you can take our spray bottle. We don't need a lot. I'm just going to kind of mist the paper down. Now, if you don't have a lifted truck, And this is a little easier. Sean will take the squeegee from you. Now the squeegee provided does have a felt lined edge. So what Sean and I are going to do is we're going to hold the vinyl. All right, so we're going to hold the vinyl up. We're going to make small squeegee movements, overlapping. Overlapping, moving outwards. The goal is to squirt the water out the end and sides of the vinyl. All right, now Sean and I, we have the bottom half of this squeegeed out. One of the benefits to the wet application is if while you're squeegeeing, if you get a little bit of a finger where the vinyl wrinkles or you get a bubble, it leaves you a little bit of flexibility to be able to lift the vinyl back up and then squeegee out that bubble. There was one spot on this hood, because this hood did have some rock damage on it, where the paint was a little poked up. That's fine. If you get a little water bubble in there, after a couple days in the sun, it will usually resolve. If it doesn't, you can take a small pin or the very sharp end of a knife and just poke the bubble and then squeegee the bubble out. But like I said, the majority of this is going to be covered by our solar panel, so it's a couple of little imperfections we're not overly concerned about. So now that we have the bottom and that's nice and stuck, now what we're going to do is we can untape our top half. We'll get all of our tape out of the way here. One thing that's very helpful when you're peeling this off, especially any vinyl application, is if you just go straight back, very low, you will avoid tearing or ripping your vinyl material. This also helps for getting backing paper off of your vinyl applications. All right, Sean, now we can lay our vinyl back the other way. We can peel our backing paper off. Again, keeping it low to the vinyl. There we go. All right, let's grab our spray bottle with the water and we're going to apply it again to the back of our vinyl. Apply it on our hood. All right. Grab our squeegee tool. Jump. Go ahead and just peel the... All right, so now we're going to pick up where we left off in the middle. Again, short overlapping strokes at a diagonal towards the outside of your work. I want to grab that little finger there. There you go. All right, so we got a little bubble there, not a big deal. Just pull it back. Let you get that little bit. Work yours, and then we'll kind of keep going back and forth. So now we have our vinyl completely adhered to the hood. Like I said, Sean's going to go ahead and wipe off the extra water. Again, patience is key here. You see, Sean and I, we took our time. There's one little time where we had some bubbles. We just lifted it up. If you need to reapply some more water in that area, then you can just do that and then squeegee it back out. The next step in our process is we've grabbed our solar panel. Before we actually start sticking the 3M tape to the back of the panel, Sean and I are going to take the panel and set it up on our newly applied vinyl decal so that we can get it centered, get it measured, and just like we did with the vinyl, we'll tape off some reference points, because once we get this all taped up, we want one smooth application to make sure that all of our tape adheres the first time and that we're good to go. So take the panel, we're going to flip it over. Obviously the wire is going to face up. We're going to set that up on our vinyl. You will notice that the vinyl is slightly oversized as compared to the panel. So, all right, Sean, you want to hold it. We'll grab our tape measure, and I'm going to kind of go, might be hard to see on camera, but you can tell where the solar panel cells are versus the border. So there's a nice clean corner right here. I'm gonna kind of go from the edge of the solar panel cells out to the edge of the black vinyl. That will give us kind of a distance here. We can do the same thing at the top. That'll give us a left or right. Then we can check our up and down, and then we'll use our blue tape and we'll mark it off. So I'm gonna go right from the corner there. So on the bottom side here, I'm about 1.75 inches. All right, about 1.5 inches. Let's see. So maybe this way, like a 1/16. Yep, perfect. All right, I'll hold that in place. Get some measurements up top. All right, so kind of pretty good there. Let's check a couple spots here in the front. So about 3/4. Go up just a hair. Yep. So kind of evenly spaced here across the front. So before we make any more double checks, we're going to take our tape. We're going to lay down our tape very gently. This is going to be our reference mark for the bottom of our panel. Now that we've moved it around a little bit, let's just double check some of our other measurements. Again, this is where having two people comes in super handy. All right, that hasn't moved. Get a reference there. All right. So now we have our bottom and our sides as reference. So we can now pull this off the truck. We're going to set it upside down on the table. We'll start laying out our tape. And then the next step after that will be actually finally applying our panel. Now we're ready to prep the back of our solar panel. Again, we're going to use our panel prep and our towel. Now we've gotten our fingerprints, there's dirt. So we want to make sure that this is all cleaned off so that our 3M tape will stick. So we'll give this a little spray. Give it a nice wipe. And while we're waiting for our surface to be completely dry, it is worth noting that on the back of your solar panel is the technical specifications for this panel. So on our 2021 4Runner here, we're installing the kit that fits the 03 to 24 without a hood scoop. So this is a one-piece panel. It's a 100-watt panel, but you also have all sorts of other technical data. So you have your volts and your impedance and all sorts of stuff. So if you need to figure out how much power you're able to generate based on your need, all of your information is there, and we'll give you a reference mark. But I can tell you this panel charging a secondary battery will run a refrigerator with no problem. I could probably run a bunch of other things off of it as well. So the great thing about this is that as long as it's sunny outside, obviously the more sun, the more power we're harvesting, but even in shady conditions or overcast conditions, you still are harvesting a little bit and maintaining your batteries. So since we've been talking, our panel is now dried off. So what Sean and I like to do is we're gonna get our 3M tape out here. And much like our painter's tape, kind of like to take one end and we're going to roll it out. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a box around the edge. And we're going to grab our scissors. We want to make sure that everything is stuck down nicely and we don't have any ripples or bubbles in our tape. Trim off the corners there if needed. Take that corner and we'll go to that edge. All right. Now we have the perimeter of our panel with our tape applied. We can now use the rest of this generously. We're going to just go straight up and down the panel, and we're going to use up every bit of it. We want to make sure that everything is nicely adhered. Lots of ways of doing this. You can do a single border around the outside. You can do a double border around the outside and then fill it in. Kind of open to interpretation, whatever you feel works best for your application. Like I said, there are different options available for the different trucks, so whatever works best in your situation. So we'll go start right down the middle. And let's see, we'll just go half each side. All right, there we are. We have used all of the available tape. Like I said, we just kind of went with a, let's go down the half, and then we'll half it again. Got a couple extra pieces along the sides. Again, just kind of open to interpretation, but the more tape, the better. So what I like to do is use my little knife here, and we're gonna go ahead and peel all of the red backing off. That way, when we go to lay it down, it's already done. So trick here is to remove the backing without removing the tape. If you have fingernails, that works. I don't have fingernails, so I use the knife. All right, now we have our panel ready to go on the truck. Moment of truth time. Before we do that, just because, I'm going to grab my towel. We're going to give it one more wipe, just to make sure we got fingerprints and dirt and whatever off of our vinyl. So what we want to do is we want to lay this down. We're going to start from the bottom and move our way up the hood without trying to get our fingers on the 3M tape. You got that side. All right, so the first thing we want to do is we want to move it to our bottom reference line. So before we lay it down, it needs to come my way. Probably about right there. So what we want to do, the panel is a little bit flexible, so we want to roll it. Before we get too far, we're just going to double check. My side reference looks good, bottom reference looks good. So all right, so we're good. We're just going to kind of use our hands as the squeegee this time and lay it flat. So once our panel is flat, that's pretty much it. If we go to try to peel it off, the 3M tape's gonna come off. We're gonna have to go back to the store and get more. Not the end of the world, just gonna make this install a little bit longer. But now we have our panels nicely laid out, so we can now carefully remove our tape as our reference marks. Again, if you just freshly laid down your vinyl, take your time. Again, drag it right back on top of itself nice and slowly. All right, so we now have our solar panel firmly attached. That looks amazing. Like I said, patience does pay off in this situation. So Lensun Solar's recommendation is after you've laid your vinyl down, you've laid your solar panel down, if you have something heavy to lay on top of it, generally, you know, you'd put like a blanket down. If you have some sandbags or something like that to just apply pressure all over the solar panel, let it sit for a couple hours, make sure that that tape is nice and adhered to the panel and also to the hood. The other thing that you can do, which is not required, but it is kind of a recommended thing from Lensun Solar, is if you want to take some silicone, you can, after the panel's nicely applied, you can tape off the panel, tape off your hood or your vinyl, and then you can lay a bead of silicone in there and smooth it out. That will help from any air, dirt, mud, whatever, ice, snow, whatever, getting under the panel and just help kind of keep it sealed, keep it attached a little bit more firmly. For the purposes of this video, we're just going to show you the vinyl, we're going to show you the panel, and then we're going to move to options for the solar controller. Well, congratulations. You've now completed the installation of the solar panel on the truck. Now it is time to get everything wired up so that we can start enjoying all of this new free energy that we're going to be harvesting from the sun. So to do that, we need to run the wire that's attached to the solar panel under the hood, and we're going to figure out where we want to mount our charge controller. So let's go ahead and pop the hood. We'll get the wire loosened up, we'll get it run, and then we'll also start to figure out how we want to run our wire to our mounting location of our charge controller. Now that we have our hood open, the next step is we need to run our wire to the mounting location of your choice of your charge controller. In this specific application, this customer is actually going to end up running a secondary battery. So he's actually already has the secondary battery box installed in the back corner of the engine bay here. That's where we're going to be mounting his charge controller for him so that he can use that secondary battery to run his fridge and all of his accessory lighting. This controller does have multiple power and ground, so depending on how you want to set your system up, if you want to run it to your start battery, if you want to run it to your secondary battery, if you want to run them both, that way you can maintain the charge on both your batteries. Again, completely up to you. Just depends on how your build is set up, what you're looking to do currently and in the future. So what we're going to do is we're going to throw some more light in here so we can show you guys the path that we're going to take. But essentially we're going to go under the hood, we're going to go behind the liner here that's on the inside of the hood. We're going to go down the side where the hinge is and come out back here behind the customer's secondary battery box. In your kit that you will get from Lensun Solar, you will also receive a bunch of these little zip tie keepers and a handful of zip ties. You can use these as many or as few as you need to. Again, just depends on where you're mounting your charge controller. So for what we're going to do, we're going to bring the wire up under the hood here. We're going to pop out a few of these retainers so we can tuck our wire up behind this liner. We're going to come down here and you can see where the washer tube comes through, and we're going to follow that down and then into right here behind this secondary battery box. So the little zip tie keepers are pretty handy if you want to wrap it around the hood, and then you can stick one right here to hold your wire. You want to make sure that you clean that surface, make sure that that zip tie sticky is nice and adhered. That way it does not come loose. So let's go ahead and grab our panel prep. clean that off, and we'll just loosely get that installed. All right, so we'll take our zip tie, pass it through one of the slots, and we can peel off the backing. We'll go ahead and stick it there, and we can loosely secure the zip tie. All right, there we are. Let's grab our panel tool or a pry tool. We'll pop out a couple of retainers here, and then we'll start feeding our wire behind the liner. All right, remove that one. Let's go ahead and remove the one here on the edge. Pull the liner down, feed our wire up and behind. So our two connectors, these are going to attach directly to our charge controller. We're just going to work this down through the plastic panel here. Use a couple of our zip ties to keep everything nice and tidy. All right, so we have our wires run to the area we're going to mount our solar controller. Obviously, like I said a moment ago, that's different for every application. So you can run the wire anywhere you need it, either left or right. We just want to get it down somewhere where we're able to secure it. The charge controller does have a few options. You do have pre-drilled holes in the mounting flanges here. So if you're going to bolt it to something, you can do that. If you want to use some strong Velcro or double-sided tape to adhere it, use some zip ties to hold it on. Kind of, again, whatever works best for your installation, for your build. The customer that we're going to be installing this in, he's actually already gone ahead and drilled some holes in the back of his secondary battery box to hold this. So let me get the hardware for that. We'll get it mounted up, and then we will run our power and ground wire. Before we install our solar controller, just wanted to kind of go over it real quick. So like I said, on the body itself, the metal body, it does have some mounting points here that you can use to mount it in your vehicle. On the bottom here, we have two sets of red and black wires. So we have a longer pair that already comes pre-terminated with a ring terminal. So, and the positive already has an inline fuse as well. So we can use that to hook to your battery. You do have a secondary set of power and ground wires that you can run to another battery or to control another accessory. These do come kind of stripped back here. So if you're not going to use these, we do recommend either capping them off, bending them over, shrink tube, taping them up, something just to avoid them from shorting out or coming into contact with anything else. You do have the antenna here. This is a Bluetooth enabled module, so you can use the solar app to connect to your charger to kind of get some diagnostics of what's going on with your system, which is, again, the more technology, the more information that you have at your fingertips now about your overland rig is kind of better. You can see the system health and everything that's going on. And then you have a couple of indicator lights here that just let you know how the system is operating and gives you some indication that you do have power to the device and that it is discharging or charging, whatever the status may be. So I'm going to go ahead and get this mounted up For right now, I'm going to cap off these wires because we're not going to use them. And after we get it mounted, we will run our positive and our negative over to our battery. We now have our solar controller, charge controller, mounted to the back of the customer's secondary battery box. We're now ready to make the connection. So on your solar controller, you'll have these keyed plugs that will match up with the wire from your solar panel. So we're just gonna match them up, male to female, push them in until they snap, and then female to male. Push them in until they snap. Now secure the rest of your wiring. At this point, you can tidy up the rest of your solar wire, replace your plastic retainers. Make sure we cut off all of our ends to our zip ties. And now we can finish up our installation by running our power and ground wire. So let's go ahead and take the twist tie off of the power and ground. With our twist ties removed, we can go ahead and straighten out our power and ground wires. Make sure we don't have any twists or bends in them. And we're going to start routing. In this case, we're going to route them across the back of the engine bay, following the main wiring harness along the firewall. We're going to make a turn and head for the start battery. So let's go ahead and we'll take one of our zip ties, and we're going to loosely secure our power and ground wires along with the rest of the wires that we have run here. With our power and ground wires loosely run, we can continue around and we're going to head towards the start battery. And now we have enough to get to our negative. We'll run this over to our positive. So now we need to grab our 10 and 12 millimeter sockets. We're going to take off both of the nuts on the positive and negative and get our wires connected and get this finished up. All right, on this truck, both of the nuts are 12 millimeters. So we'll go ahead and remove the negative. We'll make our negative connection and then we'll make the positive connection. Take the ring terminal on the black wire. We're going to make sure that we are on the negative side of the battery. I'm going to go ahead and ground that and replace the 12 millimeter nut and tighten it down. We can now flip it and we're going to remove the nut here on the positive terminal. I'm going to connect our positive wire and replace the 12 millimeter nut. At this point, you can finish up by tidying up all of your wiring, clipping all of your zip tie ends, and then it is time to pull your truck out in the sun and give it a test. All right, there we go. We now have the power to harvest the sun's energy on our Toyota 4Runner. Again, if you're looking to power secondary batteries, fridges, freezers, accessories, whatever you need electricity for while you're off-road and off the beaten path, this Lensun solar kit is the perfect solution. Like I said, they have options for your Tacoma, your 4Runner, your Tundra, your Sequoia, any of your Toyota trucks. Lensun Solar has a perfectly fit solution for your truck. If you want to pick this kit or any of the other kits up, head over to the shop at trailgridpro.com, and like always, have a blast out there.